What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part today. I am so excited to upload this one for you guys because for this video we're going to be taking a look at what I think is the most underrated movie in the entire MCU, Thor. So this is one of those movies that really does get overlooked for whenever we look at the Thor saga. I mean, granted, we have Thor Ragnarok, which is just a beast in and of itself, and it really does overshadow the first film. But we also have movies like Thor Love and Thunder and Thor the Dark World, which really does make this movie climb up the ladder. But enough about the sequels, we're here to talk about the first movie. So Thor is actually the fourth entry of the MCU and is coming off the heels of Iron Man 2, which was teased in the end credits where we got a quick glimpse of the hammer. And let me tell you, when I saw Mjolnir on screen, I was like, oh my god, we're about to get into some Viking action. Because as a kid, I was so into all kinds of mythologies. I remember in middle school looking at the Greek mythology and learning all about the Greek gods, and they were kind of like superheroes at the time. And once I got into Norse mythology, it was like looking at a heavy metal 80s rock band cover, and that's when I realized, okay, this is gonna be epic. But like everyone else, I wasn't really into the comics. I mean, I knew who Thor, Odin, and Loki were, but after rewatching the film after so many years, I now realize that this is a movie about family. Because to any families who are watching the movie, when they see Odin, they're like, that's my dad. When they see Loki, they think, that's my younger brother. And when they see Thor, they see themselves on the screen. And I love how from beginning to end, this movie is solely about living up to a father's expectations. Because right at the very beginning, we see how Odin has faith that both of his sons can become great kings. However, because only one of them can become king, it already foreshadows that eventually we're going to see these two brothers fight. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Now, while I was aware of Valhalla, I had no idea what Asgard was. But oh my god, seeing the gold palace and the rainbow bridge leading up to the palace was a thing of beauty. And the costumes, oh my god, it looks like they were taking something straight out of a Shakespearean play. Because when you look at Thor and Odin and see their big broad shoulders with their long red capes, you feel a sense of power. And when you look at Loki and see the black, green, and gold fabrics, you get a sense of regalness, especially when you see him wear his helmet with the big bendy horns. Now, looking at these characters, when you look at Thor, he is brash and arrogant and really is the kind of guy that will break things and ask questions later. Now, when you look at Loki, who is this master manipulator, it really does work hand in hand when he gets Thor into all kinds of trouble. Especially during the first act when we see practically the best acted moment in the entire MCU. Thor's banishment is by far the most intense / emotional moment we've ever seen in a Marvel movie because it feels all too personal when you see this father argue with his spoiled son, and it's something that we can all relate to whenever we had a heated argument with our dad. But when you see Thor disrespect Odin, you feel as if a line has been crossed and there is no coming back from it. When you see Odin banish his own son to Earth, and this movie now becomes a story of self-reflection as we see Thor try to become worthy again. Now, even though the love story between Thor and Jane was good and all, I was more invested into Loki, especially when he discovers the truth about his life, which just adds more depth and tragedy to this character. And I love how this movie not only gave us a heated argument scene between Odin and Thor, but you also get a total breakdown moment between Odin and Loki, and watching this character discover the fact that he's adopted, and not only that, he's not even Asgardian, he's actually a frost giant. You can see the horror and betrayal in his eyes before he slowly turns to anger and jealousy when he confronts Odin. And it's this scene alone that makes us feel more sympathetic to Loki, because at this point, he's no longer just a mustache-twirling villain, he's a well-defined character that we all fell in love with. Which ultimately brings us to the third act, when you see all the family turmoil build up to this big moment. When you see Thor, who has now redeemed himself and is also worthy of carrying the hammer again, now must confront Loki, who has usurped the throne and is planning to wipe out an entire race. And when you see the fight between these two brothers, you can feel every punch being thrown, because to anyone who has brothers, or siblings to that matter, they understand what it means to fight with your sibling. Honestly, if I had one word to describe this movie, it would be that it is very Shakespearean. Okay, so I just found out that Kenneth Branagh, who is a high caliber actor and has been in movies like Murder on Express, Tenet, and even Oppenheimer, not only did he produce this movie, but he also directed it as well. And looking at his filmography, not only did he make Henry V, but he also made Hamlet. So you could say that he was the right man for the job. So overall, I really love the first Thor movie as it swings heavily into the Norse mythology aspect of the MCU, while at the same time it grounds these god characters by telling us a story of family drama between a father and his two sons, and it also gives us a little glimpse of the relationships we have with our fathers and brothers as we all try to live up to expectations by those who have come before, making this movie all the more relatable and all the more special to me. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. That was my overall view for Thor. If you like what you saw, hit the subscribe button so you can always updates from this channel. I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.